What's up, everybody? Welcome back to What Happened. And honestly, it's what the fuck happened. Let's just be honest. Like I'm gonna call. I'm trying to pull back the language, but every time the Bears lose, that's exactly what I ask myself. What the fuck happened with this football team? Guys, before we go ahead and get things started, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you enjoy your social media at. Subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago. Download the app wherever you get your apps from. It was a rough one at the end of it. It actually had us in the first half, man. I'm not going to lie. You've seen that meme. You guys seen that meme. They had us. They had me thinking that, man, maybe this team has figured something out. Maybe this team has some way, somehow rallied behind this coach, rallied behind, against all odds type of approach, and figured something out with themselves. You had Jakeem Grant had a hell of a first half. That second quarter for both teams was just out of this world. And the defense, we'll get to that in a little bit. But as far as how the offense performed and how things were flowing on all, really in all three phases of the game, you thought the Bears had a real shot, a real legit shot at winning this game as long as they didn't trip up over themselves. And in the second half, they did just that. Looking at that second quarter for the Bears, you were able to go ahead and put up a number you haven't been able to put up in entire games in one quarter. 24 points in that second quarter. It's hard to imagine, any other team putting up 24 points in a quarter and then coming out and losing, especially the way the Bears did. And then on top of that, you had the lead going into the half. So you put up 24 points, more points than you put up pretty much in majority of your games this season. I think 27 points, if I'm not mistaken, is the most you've put up prior to this game. Let's see, you had 30 points yesterday. 27 points against Pittsburgh was the most you put up to this point, to that point. And then you go ahead and you turn around and you look at how the second half ended up. It leads me to wonder what the fuck is going on with this football team. Why can't we figure something? Why can't we just not get in our own way? Why can't we just allow the offense to operate the way it was operating? There was, a couple of plays in the first half that really irked me. As well as the first half did, I thought it could have been a lot better, and it should have been a lot better. Let me go ahead and pull this breakdown of the plays up. There was the first drive. They ended up punting the football. The thing is you got it going with the run, right? The first play of the game, incomplete pass by Justin Fields to Allen Robinson. In my opinion, not even off to a great start. Not off to a great start whatsoever. But then you have Damian Williams, 5 yards. Justin Fields with a scramble for 5 yards. Granted, you were looking to pass the ball, but he got around the edge. He was able to get 8 yards out of it. And then you complete a pass to Darnell Mooney. So 2 runs and then a completed pass. That sounds like rhythm to me. That sounds like, all right, now they have to now they have to stay true. They have to be honest with the run. They can't just go ahead and take off and get after Justin Fields. They have to honor him, but then they have to also honor the running backs that you had. You had 3 running backs that are pretty decent if you use them the right way. You have David Montgomery, off for a run of 2 yards. You have him again for another run. And then there's a incomplete pass to Cole Kmet. And this was a play where David Montgomery was spread out wide, right? Like I mentioned, you have to have a threat of the run in order to hit on the play action. I think that was one of my keys to victory yesterday. Lead with the run so you could hit on play action later. And if there's no running back in the backfield, how can they stay true? How do they honor the run? They can't. I mean, there's Justin Fields, yeah, but obviously you could put a spy on him. If there's 2 guys back there, now you have 2 options, right? Gives you options. So David Montgomery spreads out wide to the top of the screen, not in a position that I want him to be. Want him to be right next to Justin Fields. Play action. Maybe you go ahead and check out of it and you hit it for a big draw play. Maybe David Montgomery leaks out of the backfield, and beats a guy one-on-one off the play action. Justin doesn't see somebody downfield. There's David wide open. Now he's one-on-one with a linebacker. It sounds to me like those are options you're taking away from your young quarterback. Those are options that you're taking away from your offense when you don't have David Montgomery in the backfield on a 3rd and 7, regardless of what you think regardless of what you think your scheme can do right there, right then. You have to have the option. You have to have the threat. You've seen a draw play later in the game go for a big gain. Go for a pretty big gain. That's a threat. Those are options that you take away from your offense when you go ahead and you spread your running back out wide. It doesn't make sense to me. It hasn't. It never has. The way that they're utilizing David Montgomery, it just seems, we talk about this. People use that word sabotage a lot. Damn. I'd be damned if I'm not convinced. David Montgomery, 10 carries in the first half. Let's see what those carries were. You had the 2 yards, 1 yard. David Montgomery for 5 yards, 1 yard. David Montgomery up the middle for 20 yards. I think that was the draw, if I'm not mistaken. Then you have David for a yard. And then it's David again. You have one more. Let's see. Another run to David Montgomery. And then by the time you get, there you go. There's that. I think this is the last one. By the time you get to, where was it? The third quarter. Here we go. 8:16 left in the third quarter. David Montgomery had his only carry in the second half. So you heard him hit a big run for 20 yards. You heard him. He was chipping away 5 yards, 1 yard. He was chipping away. But it wasn't like the Packers were doing anything significant in the run game either. It wasn't like they were doing anything of significance, and they ended up attacking you with the run. They ended up mauling you with the run. And I'm not saying that, Matt Nagy used an excuse in his press conference. He kept saying, oh, yeah, when you're down, you got to. No, you weren't down, coach. You went into the second half. Your defense gives up a quick score. You know how this plays out. You know who you are. The fact that he doesn't understand who he is and what his team is just further shows you that this guy is just out of his league. He's in over his head. Know who your personnel is. Know your personnel. This team isn't built to just go ahead and coast and just go ahead and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna continue to put up points against a Green Bay Packer team." This team isn't that. You had a 6-point lead. You needed to control the clock. You had that strip sack fumble on Justin Fields. Why aren't you trying to control the clock right there after the Packers go ahead and why aren't you trying to get something going downfield so the Packers don't just continue to not downfield. Why don't you get things going downhill off tackle like the Packers did to slow up their pass rush? Because the pass rush just continued to get after Justin Fields over and over again in the second half. It was just it was insane. You saw you saw David Montgomery running right into what's the man? Kenny Clark. Right into Kenny Clark. You're running right at the mouth of the right into the mouth of the defense. You're not running off the edges. You're not getting guys going into space in the run game. You're damn sure forcing the ball to Jakeem Grant. And Jakeem Grant had a night. I'm not going to don't take anything away from Jakeem Grant. Jakeem Grant had a night. But those plays with Jakeem Grant, one's on special teams, first off. The second, a shovel pass, you got to give them credit. There was a couple plays. There's one to Jakeem Grant, then there's another to Damiere Byrd, and there's just a couple other plays that were pretty solid. Even the game plan in the first half kind of had the Packers off balance. But you started getting away from it. You started getting, too cute. You didn't allow David Montgomery to do what he does. You have to allow a running back to gain momentum. You have to allow him to get hits. You have to allow him to fight for yards. You're going to break another big one. Like I said, a 20-yard gain in the first half, and then you get away from him. One carry in the second half, guys, for David Montgomery, a guy that's been your workhorse all year long. That's not enough. It's inexcusable at this point. As you see, A.J. Dillon, I'm looking at the plays as I go scroll down. I'm looking at all these plays, and all I see is A.J. Dillon in the second half. And there's a lot of Justin Fields incomplete passes. There's a lot of A.J. Dillon gaining yards. There's a lot of Justin Fields incomplete passes. You had the Green Bay Packers right out of the gate in that second half going right at Robert Quinn, going right at whether it was Travis Gibson or Bruce Irvin on the right side, on the left side. They started slowing down that pass rush. They said they were going to take away your speed, Chicago, on that front line, because they were getting to Aaron Rodgers. They really were. They really were. They took away the speed of that pass rush. They slowed him down. They kept him off balance. They took Davante Adams and moved him everywhere Jalen Johnson wasn't, because Jalen Johnson was doing a pretty fair job. Look, the defense did a pretty okay job, other than, well, actually, no. I would say even at that fourth down, like that defense, there was a couple plays that I felt like, man, could have went their way. They could have stopped it. So even with that one on the goal line, Crawford had gotten beat for an ugly one later in the first half, at the end of the first half, to Davante Adams, and that one was just inexcusable. The first one, you might be just in over your head and you're young, but the second one is just straight up garbage. Just straight up garbage, and you continue to see that from Crawford. You continue to see that from a secondary that doesn't have quality depth in it. So you have out of I guess not out of position, but just in over their head cornerbacks going up against Davante Adams. They move Davante Adams all over the place in the second half. They kill you underneath. And on top of that, they're running your ass over. They're slowing down that pass rush. They're killing you softly. They're killing you slowly, I should say. Killing you slowly. The turnovers don't help, obviously. It quickly became, and I said this on Sean and Maya in the morning, it quickly became a similar vibe to the Arizona game, right? The start of that Arizona game. That's what the second half felt to me. It was just like, oh, nope, it's over. Here they come. Here comes Green Bay. That's what it felt like. Here comes the Avalanche, because the Chicago Bears don't have the talent. They don't have the talent in the coaching staff. They don't have enough talent in certain spots. There's a lot of quality players out there. Don't get me wrong. This team has a lot of quality players. There's guys out there that you can keep and you can utilize in the future on this team and that can contribute. But there's a lot of positions. There's a lot more positions that you're just like, wow, this is a glaring hole. Secondary especially. Sean asked me this morning what I want to do in the draft. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, that's a good question. That's a very, very good question. So whoever is going to be the GM or what have you, whoever's going to take over, gotta hope it's sooner rather than later. Whoever's going to take over is going to have to figure out, how do you make this team a contender right away? Well, you're going to have to go attack free agency as well as the draft. Now, people are going to look to add a playmaking wide receiver. We need to add a cornerback. Like I was mentioning, I'm going to get to that in a second. We need to add an offensive lineman for sure. But when you look at receiver, I think receiver, you can go ahead and pick up in free. You could find a guy in free agency. You already have a Jakeem Grant who's starting to become somewhat of a factor. I mean, he has speed, he has shiftiness, he can get open. If you could get him the ball in open space, he could be a factor. There's a lot of sailed balls by Justin Fields. Justin Fields had a shaky game. He had a rookie game against a really good team. He had a rookie game against a really good team. And for people out there calling him a bust, just shut the fuck up. Just shut your ass up, sit down, and watch. If you get a real coach, if you could get a real coach in here, somebody that understands they have to, their scheme, their ideas, they need to come second to the talent on their football team. If you could find a guy like that, watch how Justin Fields grows. If you could find a guy like that, if you could get out of your own way as an organization and humble yourself and say, hey, we need somebody that just we need to back the hell up. George, you need to back the hell up. Let somebody that knows what they're doing run the show. I'm not talking about rookie GMs and rookie head coaches. I'm talking about somebody who's been around the league, that knows people around the league, that's in the know, in the now about football. Not just bullshit, not just politics, not just, pleasing you as a family dynasty. It's almost like a mob. It's almost like the mafia. So, not trying to please you as a family business, but trying to go ahead and put a quality product out on the football field to respect the brand, to respect the game. Hell, the brand damn near helped build the game. So, you have to be able to at least understand that football is number one. Football is bigger than the Chicago Bears. Football is passing up the Chicago Bears. Football is passing up the Chicago Bears, and they don't seem to realize it right now. Godwin and Fields started to have a connection. Yeah, there were some good things going. There's still some good things that I see on the football field. You see, have Justin Fields, like I said, a rookie game yesterday. There were plays where you're like, oh wow, look at Justin go. Yeah, there's a lot better decision making with the run. He was able to protect himself, something that I was worried about if they leave. Me and Kenneth Davis were also worried about it, talking with Sean earlier in the year about Justin getting down, him when he slides, how he slides, him getting out of bounds, not taking shots. And I guess he understands that now. And after the cracked ribs, he had 9 attempts for 74 yards. That's pretty good. I mean, that's a stat. That's something. The way he got the yards, the way it went, they were picked up. I'm like, man, that's great. 2 interceptions suck, especially when you're staring down your receivers. That's got to be fixed. I could chalk. I want to say the one to Mooney, the first one, Rasul Douglas jumped on and took to the house. That one, it seemed like he was just over anxious. Seemed like he just wanted to get it to done. It didn't matter who he wanted. He picked his guy. He just over anxious, tried to force it there. And boom, Rasul Douglas, a veteran, picked up on it and pretty much just met the ball, or met Mooney at the spot and took the ball to the house. That one was it was an ugly, ugly interception. The second one, Darnell Mooney, you need to catch the football, man. You need to catch the football. 2 hands on the ball. There's too many times I see it go through your hands and somebody have an opportunity to intercept it or intercept it. You have to be able to come down with the football, dog. And I like Darnell. I don't want to jump on Darnell. I want Darnell to succeed, but there's too many drop passes from not only him, there's Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet also with some ugly drops. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of decision making as far as playmakers are concerned. And I want to get to I want to continue with that draft talk, free agency / draft talk. Everybody's talking about A-Rob and that effort. that A-Rob gave, or the lack thereof that A-Rob was giving. You need to move on from the dude. Like there's obvious issues here as far as the beef with the contract. I'm sure there's an issue with it, with how the offense is being run and the head coach. As far as his teammates, you're being a bad teammate because you're not. It looks like you're not giving your all, right? Look, it really looks like you're not giving a shit about what's going on out there at all. It really does. I don't think it's Allen Robinson hating his teammates. I mean, he might hate a couple of them, but I don't think there's a disdain for guys in that locker room. I think A-Rob just is disgruntled, wants to get paid, is pissed off about the head coach, is pissed off about his money flow. You're getting your ass whooped again on national television to your arch rival again after the man says he owns you. There's I own you. There's I own you signs all over Lambeau Field. There's some drunk broad dancing and celebrating in Bears gear like they're winning, clueless, just like how this organization is being run, clueless decisions at times with this football team. This makes you wonder, how are you going to get out of this? How are you going to get out? So you let A-Rob walk. Let him walk. He's done. You go ahead and you start really looking at guys' skill position in free agency. Look at that receiver position in free agency. There's a couple guys I like. Goodwin's pretty solid. Like I said, Grant, you're going to keep Mooney. Look for a guy. Look for a Michael Gallup. Look for other guys like that. Look for guys that are young, that are looking to get a contract, looking to earn a big contract if they can. Because I think guys like Michael Gallup might get like a 2-year deal, 1 to 2 year deal. But the way the Bears are operating, you could sign a Michael Gallup to like maybe a 2-year deal. Yeah. If the money's right, if you could find the money. I'm looking for them to go ahead and attack the draft with a cornerback or offensive lineman. I don't want to start with a rookie wide receiver unless you find some type of diamond in the rough in the second or third round at wide receiver. I think you'd be better off trying to solidify that cornerback spot or a center, or find another center, because just the center play alone has been atrocious. The offensive line, they haven't been particularly awesome, but that center spot, it's been rough. It's been rough watching Sam Mustipher get blown back time and time again. And you could keep saying he's young, keep saying he's learning or whatever, but there's a flexibility issue, I feel like, with Sam. He needs to be able to fire off that football. There's just not enough. There's not enough power once he snaps that football. It's like he snaps the football and then he's just slowly getting into his block. Slowly getting into his block. Backup quarterback as well, yeah. Maybe you could go ahead and pick somebody up cheap and just keep them, somebody off the street, somebody that's, who's a backup quarterback right now that's got a 1-year deal, or that's going to be a free agent right now. Just sign one of them. Does it right? Like, because, well, I wouldn't say just sign one of them. Sign somebody that's going to fit Justin Fields is at least compliment him. At least have some type of the skill, some type of skill set of Justin's, right? Can he pass? Is he going to be a good passer? Can he be a little athletic? You don't need him. You saw what Tyler Huntley did. You don't need him to be, You don't need him to be fully Lamar Jackson, but just Lamar light. Diet Lamar. So you got to find your diet Justin Fields. Maybe that's in the draft, maybe not. But find your backup quarterback definitely needs to at least mirror some of the skill set of Justin Fields. That's going to be another issue. I like the idea of attacking cornerback just because your defense is going to continue to go downhill, right? Your defense is going to continue to fall by the wayside while your offense is going to progress. The offense is going to get better. I feel like if you have a guy like Justin Fields, you're in a situation where you could replace what's been horrible for the past 4 years with something really good, with something positive. There's an opportunity here for the Bears to hit a home run, right? There's opportunity here. There's players on this football team, Justin, David, Darnell. There's talent here. If you could put that talent together, if you could find somebody that could put that talent together, that could get the best out of even the worst guy on the team, like you got to find a guy that gets the best out of the talent that's there. Sean talked about Dan Campbell earlier today for the Detroit Lions, and I said Dan Campbell's a way better coach than Matt Nagy already, because Dan Campbell doesn't have the talent on his football team the Chicago Bears have, and he gets the most out of it. They're not winning, but they're in every ball game. That ball game yesterday, that's one of the rare ones that they weren't in. They've lost how many games this year by a field goal or less? They're in ball games. They fight for Dan Campbell. He gets the most out of what he has. Matt Nagy has never done that. He's never done that. So, it depends on what they do. Like I said, let A-Rob walk. Sticking with Matt Nagy, sticking with what happened with David Montgomery. This is a repeat question. Does he hate him? Is there an issue there with David? You saw that I played David's interview. I believe it was from Friday. Yeah, it was kind of a weird one. He was a little, he was a little pissy with the media. They're asking him a couple of weird questions. He didn't like the questions, the question sets that they were asking him. But they also asked him, and I think it was Hub Arkish, hey, do you want to run the ball 30-something times a game? I just, what did David say? We do whatever it takes to get the job done. I mean, David's not going to go ahead and talk crap right here, to the media. He's not going to do that. He's going to continue to go out there, play football, and run hard and not bitch about it. That's David Montgomery's attitude. It's a grade A, awesome attitude. David Montgomery, straight up warrior. But just you think about it. He says that, and he talks about how you could either run away from the pressure or you can embrace the pressure, and how he rather run toward it than run away. You talk about that, and then you see how he gets treated out there on the field. You see how 70% of the snaps against the Cardinals, you have one carry in the second half, and you got your coach out here bullshitting, telling you that, oh yeah, it's because we were down in the second half that he didn't get as many carries as he did. Coach, you were up 6. You were up 6. Yeah, I know they went and scored. I know they came down and scored, but you were up 6, coach. The very next drive, you were trying to pass the ball. It just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. You only gave him one carry in the second half. There has to be a threat. There has to be some type of smoke and mirror. And I'm not talking about bullshit. I'm talking about you have to be able to disguise what you're doing. You have to be able to make them think, oh man, this is another running set. They're back in another running formation. And then boom, play action pass. It doesn't even have to go for 50 yards. Shit, it could go back to a check down, back to your running back for a gain of 15 yards. You have to be able to do that. Good coaches are able to make adjustments. The Chicago Bears never do that. The worst adjustment they made yesterday was to get away. And the worst adjustment they've made pretty much for the back-to-back weeks. Forget about David Montgomery. Forget about David Montgomery. I think he might have caught one pass. Did he catch a pass yesterday? Let me see, David. Rushing. Okay, 6 receptions, 39 yards. So he's touching it 16 times, and that's gonna be the fucking excuse. That's gonna be that'll be one of the excuses, one of the many excuses given to you if this question was asked, like, why aren't you force feeding David Montgomery the football? Why were you force feeding Jakeem Grant and not trying to get David the ball out in space? I understand Jakeem Grant. He's a spark. He's a jolt of lightning. He takes off. He's quick, shifty, exciting, explosive. Well, you're talking about a guy that can do it down after down after down after down after down, and you're not keeping him on the football field. Let me see if we could find the percentage. I'll tell you. Here we are. All right, 84. Shot up 84. So other than the offensive lineman and Justin Fields, David Montgomery was the second most used player on the night. Darnell Mooney, of the skill position players. Darnell Mooney first, 92%, 57% of the snaps for Darnell. David Montgomery, 52% of the snaps, 84% of the snaps he took yesterday. I like it, but he's got to touch the football. He's got to be able to touch the football. He's got to be able to feel the game. When you're running the football, you start to feel the game. You start to feel how guys are hitting. You start to feel who's tired. You start to, you yourself start building more momentum. You yourself in your head start building. All right, boom, that was a big run. All right, I'm gonna get it again. It's a rhythm thing. It's a flow thing. Running the football. And like I said, the play action. Then I go back to that first drive where they, that play action. Why is David Montgomery spread out wide? Where's the threat? Where's the threat there? They have, you could vacate a spot across the middle if a linebacker goes and picks him up. If you have David Montgomery out in the flat, he could go ahead and vacate that spot if they're not in zone. If they're in man, I believe they were in man. I could be wrong, but regardless, play action, show them a threat. Where was the threat? That fourth down against Arizona, I bitched about it. Everybody was talking about it. Why don't you have the balls? Why don't you have the balls to go for it? You know your team. Like I mentioned before, know your personnel. You know who this team is. You know who this team isn't. You have to go for it in these situations. You have to show them that you're not going to lay down. You have to show them some fight. Matt Nagy talks about this team doesn't quit. These guys are continuing to fight. Well, shit, coach, allow them to fight. Let them fight to the end. Let them fight to the very end. Turnover on downs. I don't give a shit. Your team is not winning. Your team hasn't been winning. Did you forget about the losing streak? Did that win against Detroit do it for you this year? Does that erase all sins this year? The win against Detroit on Thanksgiving, does that erase all the trespasses of the Chicago Bears this year? I don't think so. I don't fucking think so. You have to be able to have some balls and go for it. He talked about, and then it was a tricky situation because you have, once he did punt, you had the fumble, the muff punt by Amari Rodgers, recovered by Damian Williams. Then you had Kendall Vildor with just a straight up terrible call. Terrible fucking call by the referees. A bailout, in my opinion. They didn't want to call. And if you were watching barely live yesterday. There was a rollout by Justin Fields where the defender hit his face mask. You saw it clear as day. Justin's helmet went down. The head ref was caught on camera as he's running, trying to keep up with Justin going around the right side. He's trying to pull that flag, but then he pulls it back. He doesn't throw it. So he makes a decision right there not to throw and to let him play. But when it comes down to this, now they don't want to let him play. They want to go ahead and make the call. When Kendall Vildor, although he's had horrible situations this season, horrible coverage issues this season, this wasn't in coverage. I don't think he did anything wrong. Yes, he went out of bounds. He was forced out of bounds. First of all, Rasul Douglas didn't allow him to go anywhere else. He took 2 steps out of bounds and then came immediately back in. When does he reestablish himself? When is he reestablished? You got to look at the rule. Tell me when he's reestablished. Is it 20 yards downfield when the blockers is finally let up? When he's blocked 20 yards out after the fact, after coming into the field of play? When does he reestablish himself? But apparently the rule is he deliberately went out of bounds. And I just don't believe it. You saw Rasul Douglas. He's trying to hit the edge. Rasul Douglas is just cutting off his path. But cutting off his path so much, he had nowhere to go right at the end. So 1-2, took it too far. They threw the flag. The Bears get screwed. And then apparently later there was a gunner for the Green Bay Packers who just straight up said, hey, fuck, I'm going to go behind the Chicago Bears bench and make this play. So try to make this play. So just the wishy-washy refereeing, that one got us. But you got to be able to have some nuts and go for it on 4th down right there. Keep the drive alive. You saw how Green Bay was coming for your throat. You saw the momentum shift. Keep the drive alive. Just no threat. It was pretty much the white flag moment for Matt Nagy right there in my eyes. He said that, he tried to say we thought the defense was going to do, step up again. They did come after. They did have a 3-and-out. They did have some good stops, that defense. But the way the second half started, the way that Green Bay came out, right then and there, I don't trust it. Your team is not a contender. Your team has not done anything positive. Well, you haven't done a lot positive all year long, right? You've done some good things. You've done very, very baby step-ish. It just seems in year 4, these are baby steps again. We're back to square one. We're back to 101 or whatever the hell offense he's running. We're back to the basic Matt Nagy. It's been basic for too long, and I'm tired of it. Even the field goal, the first points they got in the first half, I felt like you should have gone for it. Go for the jugular. Your backs are against the wall. You're up in Lambeau. Go for broke. It's like go for broken Nagy anymore. It's like he's been castrated. There's no go for broke with him. There's no gambler left in him. Just toe the company line until I could get the hell out of here. Jakeem Grant had a great night. It was impressive. I like him as a player. The ball security issues, in my opinion, are there. There's a threat for it. He had a fumble, I believe, in his first or second game. He had a fumble. He's a little guy. He's a shifty guy. He's an explosive guy. I like him. I want him on the team. Just protect the football, Jakeem. But he had a great night. The punt return shifting fields or switching fields, heading right, coming back to the left, getting the edge, getting around, and taking off 97 yards, the longest punt return, I believe, in Bears history. 97-yard punt return for Jakeem Grant, the only punt return in the NFL so far this season. And he had a huge reception too, a shovel pass, 54 yards, I believe, in a touchdown. Jakeem Grant blocked very well. It was a jet sweep. Everybody got, all the blockers got on their man, hat on hat. Jakeem had huge lane to run, got around the edge, and was gone. It was a good play. He had another one with Damiere Byrd. Damiere Byrd finally in space. He came out of the backfield. It was well-designed play. He beat his man. The rest was history. To the house. Jakeem Grant had a solid night. I'm not going to take that away from him. But, again, you get to a certain point and the well runs dry for the Chicago Bears. You get to the third quarter. You get to the fourth quarter. And the Bears are grasping at straws. The Bears scheme. The Bears, their ideas, the quality of play, it just goes out the window at a certain point. They had us in the first half. Not going to lie. They had us in the first half. The scheme has schemed us out, bro. Like they schemed us. It schemed us. The scheme has schemed us. We bought into this as an organization. The Bears bought into this. We as fans, you kind of figured it out, really quick. If you didn't, there are still people out there that are holding on to the BS idea that Matt Nagy's not the issue. Just it's straight up lies, falsehoods. Don't listen to those people. Matt Nagy is the issue. The scheme is the issue. The scheme of the century is trash when the well runs dry, man. They can't continue to rely on gimmicks. You can't rely on a Jakeem Grant, end around consistently, man. You caught him off guard. Let's say what it is. They had a good idea, a good plan in the first half. They kept the Packers off balance. They kept them off guard. They hit on a couple big plays. And then their pockets were empty. They're giving you the shrugs. They're looking at the door. They don't have an answer. They don't have an answer in the second half. Justin Fields was a rookie yesterday. Justin Fields wants to be a winner in this league. He wants to prove people wrong. And, wow, looking at this right now, the Chicago Bulls postponed their next 2 games. Apparently, I don't think they're going to be playing tonight. I think they were supposed to be playing tonight. And I guess that will be postponed as they have 10 players in COVID protocol. But back to football. Justin, just needs to grow. Just needs to grow, continue to grow. He has the right mindset. I believe he's the right guy for the job. You have to continue to see it. Obviously, you have to continue to see the progression. But I believe it's Justin. I believe in Justin. I really do. I believe Justin Fields. When it's all said and done, this rivalry is going to get flipped. And it's going to be because of Justin Fields. It's going to be because of David Montgomery. It's going to be because of guys like that. Guys that have the heart, have the fight. Can the front office, can this team, can George McCaskey step aside, put football first, and get the right guys for the job? Man, there's one guy I really feel like that could do it. as far as commanding respect, and as far as being willing to run the football, there's one guy that stands out to me. I don't know if they'll do it. It's quite honestly what I want. It could be what I want. It could be what older fans want. You know, it could be what meatheads want because you're bringing an old bear back. You've seen how his system worked when you have a big offensive line, nasty dudes up there on the offensive line, a running back who's willing to run, a running back who doesn't, doesn't stop. You have a plethora of running backs who are pretty talented. You have a quarterback who could pretty much do it all. He could pretty much do it all. Now, can you hone his skills? Can you polish him up? That's the question. That's the question. I'm a guy that's on the Jim Harbaugh train. I want there to be a president of football operations. I want there to be a GM, but I want there to be a head coach who's willing to do what it takes to get the win. Yeah, but is the front office willing to go ahead and put the personnel in front of him, give him the opportunity, give him the players to make that happen? Whoever it is needs to command the respect of the McCaskey family, needs to command the respect of the organization. I don't think Matt Nagy has that. I think they like Matt Nagy. I think they think he's a swell guy. I don't think they fully respect him. I think they respect that he's like I said, a nice dude. But as far as being a leader of men, as far as being a leader, being a head coach of a football team, being a head coach of an NFL franchise, I don't think they respect him as such. I think they look at him now as more of a stopgap. You know what I mean? We've seen how he's looked all season long, dejected, doesn't have an answer, never found those whys, that Matt Nagy. He never did find those whys. Looks dejected in every interview. Even today, it sounded like he was ready to get out the door, ready to, not, I guess, run and hide, ready to run and hide. And I'm not saying that he's going to go and do that and cry in the corner or anything. I mean, he's still has some pride as a man, I'm sure. I don't know why he can't show it on the football field. But it's just time. You got to respect Justin Fields. You feel bad for Justin Fields. You feel bad for guys like David Montgomery. Respect your players. Respect the game. Respect the brand. Respect this organization and the history it's brought to this game. The game will pass you by if you don't figure it out. Guys, I'm Ivan Vargas. Make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe. Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you hang out on social media. Make sure you download the app wherever you get your apps from. It's been a long season. We have 4 more games. I'm looking at them as who wants to be here next season. These are the earn your paycheck games. This is the earn your paycheck time of the year, right? Christmas is around the corner. New Year's is around the corner. Yeah, and they're showing some of the highlights or the lowlights of the Bears game. You had Alan Lazard with the "I Still Own You" shirt. Shit like that's got to change. Earn your paycheck time. Who wants to be here extended, right? Who wants to be here beyond? And who just wants to escape? Guys, I will see you Wednesday, Sean and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago at 9 a.m. Make sure you check us out. Me and Sean. I'm sure Kenneth will be there. Maybe Maya will come in. Joseph, Jason, and all our guests. Until then, guys, Peace.